We all have a story to tell. Let's tell yours. Welcome to the Intellectual People Podcast with your host, Jason. Come together and listen to journey stories and more from interesting people. Welcome your host, Jason.
Welcome to the Intellectual People Podcast. Today I have Adela and Peter from procrastination.com, the authors of this book. Peter and Adela, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
All right. So tell us, what is End Procrastination?
So procrastination is a huge enemy of our success, our productivity, and it's growing these days because we have addiction on social media, apps. All companies are trying to hijack our dopamine system, and to fight procrastination is a key skill for being successful in 21st century. So for us, it's our main topic. We are focusing on procrastination for more than 10 years, and we are trying to simplify the science about procrastination because we have so many good research from Stanford, Harvard, but there is a huge gap between what science knows and what people do in their lives. So our mission is to simplify the science of procrastination.
Wonderful. So what I'd like to do is for both of you to introduce yourself. Adela, how did you always dream of being an author and writing a book?
Not at all. I grew up in the family of neurologists and more of a scientist, so I was always more of the learning about how things work. And not only until I met Peter, I actually found about the book and managed to help him spread the word. And sort of the connected values of, as he said, the bridging of what we know and what we can use and really harness. That's what brought us together. And now, of course, I love it. It's been 27 countries we have the book in, and we can tell that the procrastination really is a global thing. It does not spare a single nation.
Peter, did you always have this idea of writing this book?
Yeah, since I was a kid, I was to write a book. I had an opportunity to write a book about procrastination. It was twice painful because I was procrastinating writing a book about procrastination. So it's truly difficult to sit and write in this difficult era of distraction everywhere. So for me, it was one of the highest achievements of my life to really finish the book about procrastination.
So let me just get this straight. You're telling me that you've always wanted to write a book, and that topic was always procrastination, or when did actually the topic of procrastination come about?
Not always, but a publisher approached me because we started with keynotes, with workshops about procrastination, and then a publisher approached us to write a book about that. And for me, it was a moment to, let's say, now I have to test all my methods. If it works, I will finish the book. If not, I should find a new topic to be in.
Fair enough. So let's go back a little bit. You, in your early 20s, were doing what?
Me in my early 20s, I was traveling and working. I was finishing studies in UK and New Zealand and Paris. Don't ask me how that happened, but I was traveling and my career definitely was going to be somewhere around production and TV and media. And I actually studied acting for a little bit. I never knew until I met Peter that my place on the stage is actually bringing science to people and not really being the Romeo or Juliet in the world. So that was my 20s. And procrastinating as well, professionally.
Professionally.
And yourself, Peter?
Yeah, I was studying computer science, and then I started to study law. So I was studying 2 universities. Wow. And in that time, I started a little startup. So I was having a business, I was studying. And of course, my procrastination was a key enemy to my success. So it was the moment that I started to read the research about procrastination, and I started to apply those research on myself to boost my productivity. And when it worked, I told myself that I should share those ideas with other friends, colleagues. And then I was invited to do a first keynote at my law university. So it was my first keynote. It was 14 years ago. And it was a great success because those peers were so happy and they were so grateful that I gave them some practical tools about procrastination. So then I started to do more and more keynotes, and then the book happened, and then it's like exponential growth.
Yep. So to both of you, and I'll start with Peter since you're the last one. Do you consider yourself an entrepreneur or do you consider yourself an author?
Yeah, I have 5 different jobs. First is being a writer. The second is entrepreneur. I have company that has 30 people, 30 employees. So we do education, we do conferences. Then I do my own podcast. So it's the third job. Then I do consulting one-on-one, like coaching. And then I'm trying to be on social media. So I'm like, let's say, influencer or something. So those are my 5 jobs, and I'm trying to mix all of them because I don't like to do only one of those.
Understood. And yourself, Adela?
Oh, okay, an entrepreneur for sure. I do take care of our international business with the procrastination.com. It's great that already Peter has the team that we, sort of share in doing that. But I would not say that I'm an author. I would really say more that I'm a trainer. Really, the 99% of my job or 90% of my job goes into helping big companies and their leaders managing its people. And I'm the person who likes to dig deep and sort of deal with the issues and going back to the issues you don't want to get back into. So I would say really I'm more a trainer. I spend more time training the companies and in the keynote speaking sort of idea than what Peter does with having his multi 5-person personality. But at the end of the day, who's not entrepreneur these days? Huh? I think somehow selling yourself and your know-how and what you can do for others is an entrepreneurship in itself.
And Adela, do you contract to companies all over the world currently still?
Yeah. I do.
Do you have a name of a website that you'd like to mention?
Procrastination.com.
Procrastination.com. Okay.
Yeah, indeed. It's a good commercial. But to be honest, and I think that was something that Peter said at the beginning when we were talking, it's really 21st century. We've learned how to work online and offline. And now I think that we're in some sort of a sweet spot where we're loving meeting offline. We're loving the coffees and teas. And Peter does his podcast in his living room. And it's amazing to watch how people can connect over a cup of tea. Japanese and green, but it's as well really nice to be able to talk to the rest of the world like we now do from 3 countries. And the same goes for the teams that I train. Sometimes I have them from 6 different time zones and I can still be with them and help them. So that's really nice about the job that I'm doing.
How did the both of you actually meet? How did that happen?
Yeah, Adelka, please tell the story because it's very funny.
Well, I don't know if it's funny or very random, but or very sad at the same time, because I went to an event. I really came through a massive burnout. We both met because we had a very low point in our life. We almost call it a near-death experience. I really had heart problems, and pretty much one day I decided to go and see some speaker at a conference, and it was Peter's colleague, and she said, "You know what? You would love Peter. You should meet up and you should talk to each other." And I remember the first time, Peter, we joked about, wouldn't it be so cool if the book would like one day came out and I don't know what we said, Swedish or something. And now 27 languages later, or how many, it's actually becoming sort of comical that it's true. But I think that one thing is me and Peter, we never liked each other. We always had something very different. Peter's very thoughtful, very things has to happen very proper. And I'm the all over the place. But we always share the same values, the one that are core for the company and for both of our lives. And I always tell people when we train them, when we're in the companies, that when you share the values within your partnership, within your team, within your business unit, it's really easy to get along. And we were able to overcome the obstacles. Now we're the good brother and sister, but it sort of had to start.
I consider you as my second sister. Yeah.
Yeah.
After being 2 years together in New York, so sometimes it was crazy because we moved there and we started the company from scratch in New York, and we were there just alone. So now we have to love each other because that was the only way to survive.
True.
What are the company values?
Sorry.
I'm sorry. What are the company values?
Well, the first is simplicity. I love simplicity. It's my core value for myself and for the company, because I believe that if you can't explain things simply, you don't understand them well enough. So simplicity, to simplify the science, is the key value. and we also use visuals. So visual explanation is the core of the book. You can go through the book and you can see that there are more than 100 pictures. So simple diagrams that can easily to transfer the knowledge, and it can help you to remember the concepts. But at the end of the book, there is more than 100 scientific studies. So it's a combination of scientific book, but with simple diagrams and pictures. And this is those two main values: evidence-based approach and simplicity.
And to add our human ones, the objectivity, love, and sort of this idea that you have to learn how to be objective. You have to understand critical thinking. I think that's something that's super important to Peter and the rest of our team as well. And then something that we call heroism. So being able really to go there and do it, even when it's uncomfortable, stepping outside of your comfort zone. And I think the positivity, love, goodness, however you want to call it, just the fact that we want to do good in the world, those are the sort of three things holding up. And with the science, simple and useful, it just always clicked. And I think all our team, the 30 or 35 people, will tell you exactly the same.
Adela, would you agree that being uncomfortable is a really good thing for us humans?
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's just, you're asking me now because I'm super comfortable, but ask me in the uncomfortable situation and I might have a different answer. But stepping outside of your comfort zone, not only we know it, but it's science proof that that's the way things should work. That's where you're really taking the first steps to change and to making something better.
And you bring up a point. When you're uncomfortable and then you go through that experience, are you personally happy that you went through that experience of feeling uncomfortable and overcoming that and then coming out on the other side, right?
Learning process, 100%.
Right? Process improvement.
Exactly.
What is the vision for procrastination.com? We've talked about the values. What's the vision?
Yeah, the vision is to help as many people as possible. So it's to scale up the knowledge that we have. So we are trying to start to do some TikTok videos, YouTube channel, and to sell as many copies of the book, because everything is in the book. So it's still on the process of translating the book into more languages is still on process. So we are getting a Chinese version soon. Then we have Arabic version soon. So still we have a lot of languages to provide the book in to more and more countries.
And is that a 5-year, 10-year plan? Or, I mean, at what point?
For whole life.
Plan.
I love my work, and I can do it in my 70s, 80s too. So it's for a whole life.
Agree, 100%.
Do you see a second book ever coming out?
It's the most favorite question. Thank you. No, I was writing a new book about purpose in life and purpose at work, but I started before COVID, and then COVID hit, and I changed almost everything in my life. The whole company has to switch into online world. I moved from New York back to Prague, and then I did not write for 2 years. Now I have to continue with writing, of course, but it's very difficult to continue after 2 years that you just didn't write. So it's very difficult, but I hope that once in, let's say, give me a few 2-3 years, and I will give you a new book about purpose.
Fair enough.
A deal has been struck.
It sounds like
2-3 years it's good. Yeah.
That's a big commitment right there, right?
Yeah.
Now, what is your process, Peter? You sit down, you start writing this book. Does Adela and the team look at it, or what is the actual process of what you write and also reviewing? Or do you use a third-party psychologist maybe to review it and look at the data, right? Because you're not only going subjective, but you're also looking at the objective side too, right?
Yeah. We have in team, we have psychologists, we have guys that they are good in data analysis. So basically, at the beginning, there was a keynote about procrastination. There was a training for 5 weeks, how to help people to overcome their procrastination. And then we just took those ideas from those trainings, from those keynotes, and put them together into a book. So basically, the keynote was before the book. So I had a lot of feedback on the work from my clients, from psychologists. Some top psychologists like Philip Zimbardo gave us an amazing feedback on the book. And then when the book was written, then I shared the book with the team, and then we started to do a lot of discussions about wording, about details, how we can call this tool, if it's heroism or everyday heroism, if it's habit list or habit sheet or whatever. So those tools are very important for us from the book, but it was a huge discussion, like how to use the different names in different languages, because in one language the name is very clear, very useful, but in different language it doesn't work. So we had to we spent a lot of time discussing the wording.
What part of that process do you enjoy the most?
Nothing. No, nothing. No, I love people. I love keynotes. I love podcasting. I love talking to people. I love consulting. But writing was very, very unpleasant to me, because you are alone. If you write a joke, no one is laughing. You don't have any feedback, no dopamine at all. So after 2 years of writing, you are not sure if it's going to be successful. So it was the most unpleasant thing that I ever done.
That's
truly
very interesting.
For me, writing was completely outside of my comfort zone.
Can I just hop onto this? I love the honesty, because equally when we translated it to English and when we had to sit on it and then do the other language and then talk to the publishers in German and Ukrainian and Russian and Thai and all this, and then we had to like discuss the words and go through it again. It's exactly the moment where this is sort of an uncomfort zone for us as well, because we like to be with people, we love to talk, we love to inspire. You asked before what the vision is, and something that we never forget is we say better self, better world. People will always be born, always die, and always procrastinate. We know that, but we want them to be a little bit better. So we just say, hey, this is sort of the calling that we have. We just one by one make the people better, no matter if it's a company or if it's, a hall of people and you just gave them a keynote. And the book is somehow a tool, like another thing that we can use. So we have the e-learning, we have the ebooks, we have the books, we have all the other stuff and the keynotes, but it all going towards one goal: to make the world a little better. So you're there struggling with the translation, wanting to kill each other, do not agree on anything or how the picture should be up. But in your head, it goes like, come on, let's do it. Let's endure it. Like, we know why we're doing it. We want to make the world a better place. But at that moment, murder, just worse. I 100% Peter.
Makes me really not want to write a book.
It's something that connects you with immortality. I remember that me and Adela, we were visiting the New York Public Library, and they have like 5 copies of our book there. And even though we die, still they will have our 5 books. So it was very strong to me. But after the end, so yeah, the writing was not pleasant, but at the end, it is very, very pleasant if you put something in the world and your ideas are somewhere stored forever.
And ultimately, that's what this is about, right? This is not about the actual printed book, but it's more about you spreading your knowledge and helping. Is that correct? Is that accurate?
It is. Yeah.
Okay. Now, because we all procrastinate in a certain way, right? It's not right for any of us to say, well, I don't procrastinate. I'm a doer. I get it done, right? The reality is we all have some form of procrastination, correct?
Yeah, even people that are workaholics, they procrastinating having a rest, so they also procrastinate.
Right. So let's teach somebody what they can do in the simplest form to not procrastinate. How, if you're giving advice to somebody that says they're not a procrastinator, you got 2 people. I'm not a procrastinator, and then I'm a severe procrastinator, right? You're going to give both groups some advice to help them. What is it?
Well, at the beginning of the book, there is one Japanese proverb, and it beautifully summarizes the whole book. And it follows like this: vision without action is a daydream, and action without vision is a nightmare. So basically, this simple proverb summarizes the whole book and those 2 main ideas: vision without action. So you know what to do. Yeah, you have your New Year's resolutions, but at the end you do nothing. You are procrastinating. But what is even worse is if you have action without vision. It's the situation when you are working on something and you lack purpose. So basically, if you want to fight procrastination, you need those two ingredients. You need a strong life vision, like you have to know what to do, what is your mission, what are your values, and then you need to push yourself outside of your comfort zone and to act. So it's about habits, it's about time management, but basically you need those two main ingredients. So that's why the first chapter of the book is about vision, how to uncover your strengths, how to know what to focus on at your business life, private life. And the second chapter is about habits, willpower, and time management, how to stay focused and stuff. So those are two main concepts of the book. And I love the Japanese proverb because it's truly to the point.
Agreed. And you said something that really resonates with me, which was people's strengths. You didn't bring up the opposing word that many people use of weaknesses, which I really have a hard time with because I look at it as we all have strengths, right? Yeah. It's a matter of putting groups of people together that have strengths that complement each other and build that strong team.
Right. In the book, there is a chapter about strengths, and what we are telling people that 80% you should focus on improving your strengths and only 20% to overcoming your weaknesses. Because if you focus just on your weaknesses, you are drained. You don't have emotions. You are stuck. But if you focus on things that you are good at, it's much better. You are more often in a state of flow. Time stops for you. You are in the present moment, and you are improving in the long term. So basically 80% focusing on strengths and 20% overcoming weaknesses. And that's the ideal ratio of being let's say being in the good mood for improving.
In your research, why do people procrastinate?
Adelka?
I like listening to you talking about procrastination. We both train it too much that it's nice to others. But the question was why they procrastinate? Do you think so?
Yeah.
I think that it all goes through something called the decision paralysis. It's the fact that, as Peter said, we live in the world of so many options. And we thought that if we have plenty, if we have all the things to pick from, and if we have the 70 types of orange juices to go to and select, we'll be happier. But it's not true, actually, because our brain has to make the decisions over and over and over again. What am I going to do? Which partner am I going to pick? When am I going to sleep? What am I going to eat? You're depleting your brain. You're making it more and more tired. And so many times, rather than making an option A or B, you just pick nothing. Do I go yoga? Do I go, I don't know, meditating? Do I go kickboxing? Ooh, Netflix. And there you go. So a lot of the times it's not really a fault of anybody else. It's just the world that we're placed in.
Right. And let me add some detail, because we live in the era of distractions all over. Notifications, algorithms are making things even worse. Like the algorithm of TikTok, there was an article, I think it was a Wall Street Journal or something, and they were telling that it's addictive as crack cocaine, the algorithm of TikTok. So it's a huge problem for younger generation because their attention span is very, very small, very narrow. And at the end, it's not our problem. It's the problem that someone invested billions of dollars into those algorithms to hijack our dopamine system. So basically, we are not weak. They are strong. It's not our problem. It's the problem that we are unable to regulate those social media network companies because they have billions of dollars investing to make the algorithm more addictive.
Have you ever thought about trying to get this book into the school system?
Of course, yeah. We do a lot of trainings for schools. 1 week, 2 weeks ago, I had a talk for 12, 14 years old kids, and it was amazing. It was one of the best experiences in my life because if they can use this knowledge, if they are kids, then they can have much better life in the future. So for me, working with schools is one of the key missions for us to deliver those same keynotes that we deliver in companies for schools. A little bit simpler, a little bit shorter, but basically the core is the same, to help them to uncover their strengths, to focus on their purpose in life, purpose at future work, and then to build their willpower through some habits and to help them to overcome their comfort zone. So it works even for kids.
And what about in university for an older child?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
We started with universities. The first 10 keynotes that I had were for universities. Basically, as I said, my first keynote was for my law university, and then I deliver keynotes for free for universities. And then companies approached us to deliver some keynotes for companies, but we started with students.
And we
because
still
we
have a lot of universities actually asking us.
You do.
Because somebody would find it in the library, or a teacher would recognize the fact that if the students would learn how to focus better, how to be better motivated, how to really select the subjects they like and study something that fulfills their purpose and calling, they're better students. And if I'm correct, we had students from Africa, from Australia, from Canada, of course, in European schools. So it's we actually hope to have more of those and be able to share it with a sort of a younger audience. And that's something that's sweet about the book as well. You can read it as a 14-year-old and you can read it as a 100-year-old. I'm pretty sure we have some 100-year-old reading the book now.
Yeah, of course.
Or granddad, Peter.
Yeah. The thing is that we are all global citizens. We use the same cell phones. We use the same Facebook. We use the same Instagram. So we are not that different. Yeah. So even though you live in Asia, even though you live in the US, if you live in Europe, we are all kind of same in terms of procrastination, same addictions, same distractions.
Do you think that artificial intelligence, known as AI, will also create a larger problem within this?
Yeah, I have a major in computer science, and one of my topics were AI. But it was 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, and now it's a huge difference. But we are trying to use AI even for our, let's say, consulting, because, for example, with ChatGPT, you can ask the ChatGPT how, according to AI, you can fight procrastination. And it was very, very smart. Those answers were very similar to what we teach. So I think that the future will be some kind of cooperation between humans and AI can make us better trainers, can make us better podcasters, can help us in, let's say, not doing the unimportant stuff, like to spend time with useless activities, but with AI, we then can focus on what is truly important. So I believe that AI can shape the world a lot in both positive and negative way. But for me, I'm trying to use the positive part.
Good for you. And I read something that was interesting. It said something to the along the lines of people are worried about losing their jobs who use AI. The reality is that people that don't use AI will be replaced. Something to that.
100% agree. Yeah, 100% agree.
Now, I know that you're not wanting to be a TikTok sensation. However, have you thought about almost using your keynote speaking in TikToks and doing clips, right? Because people's attention span, especially those that majority that use TikTok, is pretty small, and putting out your message that way within TikTok.
We do now. Peter made
we are trying. But the thing is that
started.
The TikTok is one of top evils in this modern age, and we can use this evil to spread the knowledge about how to fight this evil. So it can work together. Yeah. So, but for us, it's still very, very difficult to take the camera and telling people in 1 minute how to be productive, how to change their life. So I love long formats. That's why I love podcasts, that we can go deeper and we can discuss things in detail. But in 1 minute video, it's very, very difficult.
Peter, explain to all of us why TikTok, and not necessarily only TikTok, but any digital media is bad for us or can be bad for us.
We have a dopamine system in our brain, and it works that if you get something that you are interested in, then a small amount of dopamine is released. And those social networks, they use something that is called cheap dopamine. You don't need to try to get that dopamine. So before social media, you had to do something. You had to, I don't know, accomplish a task, and then dopamine was released. But with social media, it's releasing a little bit of dopamine constantly. And it knows you better than yourself, because they measure all details, like how long you watch this video, where your focus is, and it serves you the best content, and the best content that releases the most dopamine in your brain. That's why it's called dopamine system hijack. And the problem of TikTok is that the algorithm is made in China, and we don't know how it works. And basically, they are getting all those behavioral data of all Western society, and in the future, they can use those data in, let's say, kind of hostile ways. So this is a problem not just about addiction and algorithms, but it's also a problem of, for example, fake news and like division in society, because with those data, you can truly divide the Western societies even more than it was done with Facebook.
Do you believe that that is the goal of TikTok?
Who knows? Yeah, who knows? I think that their main goal is to make a better algorithm that is more addictive. That's 100% sure. Because they use that algorithm not just for TikTok. The owner of the TikTok is selling the algorithm for e-shops, for other, let's say, companies. So the more the algorithm is addictive, the more they earn money. So for them, the goal is simple: to make the algorithms more addictive and to hijack your dopamine system even more. That's why they compare it to crack cocaine, because it's very difficult to have, for example, cold turkey from social media for 1 month. No one can do that. Almost no one.
There is some science that, without going into it too far, but there's some science that shows that we as humans are a product of our ancestors to a degree. Okay. And I don't know if you agree with that or not. And I'm not wanting to put words in either of your mouths. However, do you believe that this digital creation that we live in has the potential to affect generations down the road?
Yeah, sadly, 100%. And I think that the problem of humanity is that we are living in the world that is so different than the world 50 years ago. So we don't know how to handle those big problems, not just algorithms, but climate change, the growth of populism and fake news around the world. And I think that this is a very challenging era. So still, we live in a great era. I love 21st century. We have freedoms. We have very good health care. We have ability to travel. We have, I don't know, I truly love this world. But the thing is that if we want to survive on this planet, we have to change many things. We have to change the system of education to help like kids to survive in this environment of digital media and stuff. So I think that we should truly focus on education first, the education system.
And how would you change, or what do you recommend a parent does with their child's digital media? I mean, let's start there, because that's probably the easiest thing, right? So we don't procrastinate about it. We actually can take an action, a corrective action today, right now. What does Peter recommend?
Well, it's very difficult, but I highly recommend to teach critical thinking skills. Critical thinking is one of like meta skills, because if you are a better thinker, then you can be better in all domains. So critical thinking should be a main subject at schools, and media literacy and ability of doing your own fact checking, to understand the science, a little bit the scientific method, to understand that there is a difference between a study on 100 people or 10,000, and to understand like what is double-blind placebo-controlled trial and stuff like that. So I think that we should deploy a subject at schools about critical thinking. It's one of our missions too. We have some pilots here in Czech Republic about deploying critical thinking subjects at school, and it's the best way how we can help kids to survive.
Love that. Absolutely love it.
Can I just add one thing on
Please.
top of that from
Please.
very, very still young mother's perspective? And it's something strange what I'm saying, that we talk of media literacy. We talk of how to talk to kids about Instagram and Facebook and then get them the phone and everything. But very little people, I feel, live by the example. So the kids, they only want the phone because their parents are always on the phone. And then you would be told, oh, but I was too busy and then I didn't know what to do. I had to make dinner, so I gave my kid a phone. She's already 8 months. She's just watching fairy tales. My daughter's 19 months now. She's never seen a phone. She has no idea. She never saw a fairy tale. Traveled the world with her. That hours and hours in the airplane. And now sometimes I'm touching the phone and she hates it. She will look at me and she knows I'm not giving her the full attention. So to me, in the critical thinking and all this, 100% absolute base, but as well this leading by example, to really do it, to sort of live by what you preach. Because those little monsters, they'll see absolutely everything, and they know you go to the loo just to check the Instagram, hey? So those two things, I think when it comes to the next generation, they would really, we really have to show them how it's done. We have to prepare them how to then follow in the good footsteps themselves.
Right, 100% agree.
It's so interesting. It is, the problem is so much greater than we actually all really realize, right? That's what I'm learning right now, is that the problem is far greater than the average parent or even person without a child really understands how big of an effect this has on the world. And it's only going to get, I don't want to say worse, it's only going to get more intense.
Yeah, and the problem is that you have procrastination on personal level, but then you have procrastination on the whole society level, like with the climate change. We are procrastinating to solve the issue of climate change. And it's very, very similar. Like, we are postponing and we are trying to, I don't know, to find some alternative facts to make us a little bit calmer. But the reality is very, very bad in terms of how much time we have to act. And it's very similar, like if you are procrastinating something very important in your private life and you know that you have to act but you are unable to act. But we do the same as the whole society, and it's even worse, I guess.
I typically don't get political on this show. However, since you brought it up, I'm going to ask you the question, and this is not a debate. Simply, how does Peter fix climate change? What do you do?
Well, I had a talk. I have a, let's say, 1 hour long keynote about climate change. And for me, it's about to really realize that it's happening and to push politicians to find the solution that is sustainable. So I truly believe in technology. Like, for example, you have some new technology that is cheaper than the oil, and that's why it works in the long term. So I truly believe in innovation and about cooperation, between government and businesses. But of course, it's truly difficult to have a simple answer for that, because I did 2 episodes of my podcast with some top climate scientists, and they were very skeptical. They were telling well, we don't believe that we can fix that. And it was very sad to me, because even though we want to do something, it's not a simple one tool that can change everything.
Sure. And it should also be said that nothing is technically really simple to fix something overnight. It takes time, no matter what it is, including procrastination, right? Yeah. Everything is simple on paper. The execution is what makes anything somewhat difficult, right?
And let me add here something, because what is funny is that in Europe, climate change, it's not a political issue. It's more in the US. I know, I lived there for 2 years. I know it's political, but here in Europe, it's not like that. Yeah, it's more that we are all trying to find a solution, even though you are left or right. We don't have this kind of division in societies.
It's interesting. Now, do you target typically larger size companies, like Fortune 500 size companies, or do you target the smaller 10 to 50 people companies?
Oh,
All of
All.
Okay.
100% from your smallest startups to really the biggest companies you have in the world.
Okay.
Because as we said, the dying, the sort of being born, and the procrastination that's gonna happen, and they have really similar issues, no matter the size of the company.
Right.
How do you target them? What's the process?
Yeah, the thing is that mostly they approach us. So, for example, I had an opportunity to work with Google, Microsoft, and they approached us to deliver keynote on their conferences. So that's the best part, that the more you talk at conferences, the more offers you have. So it's like you have one conference, then you get 3 offers, then you do 3 conferences, then you have 9 offers. So it works like that. You get to the tipping point, and then it works just without any huge effort.
Yeah.
So that's very, very nice. But still, we have a sales department in our company to trying to handle all those contacts, because for me, what I love is being on stage, but I'm not good at, I don't know, sending invoices and discuss prices. So we still have a very good sales department, but mostly the companies are approaching us.
And
Great.
don't forget that, I'm sorry, but procrastination is not the only topic that we do. It's still based on the same values, but we do still have people who focus on different things. So there'll be leadership and communication and all those things like sales and presentation skills. So a lot of the time it happens that they would see us talking on maybe a different topic, but then the procrastination comes along, and 100% of the time we're like, oh yeah, okay, we have issue with those ones as well. So how about you sort of do this? So in the way of cross-sell, in the way of really the simplifying science and bringing it with the good tools, with the good aha moments, with the experience we had of the decades in the industry, that's a sweet spot for us. And I think that people are so bored of, the sort of tuxedo wearing, I'm going to talk to you about this and this topic, and I'm going to show you a spreadsheet of millions and millions of numbers. And we call it the death by PowerPoint. I think everybody's sort of sick of that. So they like the sort of more open-minded, sometimes funny, sometimes brutally honest approach that we have.
Do you offer any value to those companies that reach out to you? Like, I guarantee you're going to see a result.
No, at the beginning, when we started, it's like 12, 13 years ago, they had some KPIs of the cooperation. They want people to change in special domain, but now it's more like edutainment. It's about education, but entertainment. So now I think that it's changing. The edu part, it's maybe the same, but now companies, they want to do entertainment more. So sometimes we are telling that we do a stand-up show about procrastination and science, and people, they have to laugh. They have to be full of energy at the end of our talks, because it's the way how the brain works. If you have positive emotions, then you remember much more. So we have to deliver funny stories. We have to deliver simple pictures. We have to be like stand-up comedians a little bit.
So your show is somewhat interactive, correct?
Yeah.
And it's not just procrastination, it's team building, it's sales, it's procrastination, and everything that goes along with it. Is that?
Yeah, we're telling that we are teaching skills for 21st century, because at schools you have subjects that are not that useful in this modern era. So for me, it's about presentation skills, it's about time management, it's about leadership, it's about those all soft skills of communication. But at the end, like what you have at schools out of those skills? Almost nothing. So basically, we are trying to help people to be better and survive in 21st century.
And don't forget that a lot of companies, they work in a way of like, we have one subject or one topic and it works great. We're going to hire more consultants. We're going to, give them the little briefcase and go do it with the companies. For us, it's totally different. We're always trying to surround ourselves with people who have their PhDs or their focus on things, on topics. We have a colleague that speaks really about child development. She has a PhD in child development. She focuses on meditation meditation and mindfulness and everything that goes with kids and with their behavior and with communication. She joined our team, and now this is our topic. And so it's not like we do one thing. We're really trying to keep the knowledge on as high level as possible and really have each part of the team focusing on what they do. So a lot of the time it happens that one company works with us for many, many years, and they would have 3, 5, 6, 10 colleagues visiting us. They would always know who we are by the doodles and the way how we communicate and how we sort of share the information, but it'll always be backed up by science and sort of delivered by the pros, which is something that's not a trademark. That's why it's sort of our hearts are beating.
Can people find out on procrastination.com about all the services that you offer?
Yeah,
100%.
probably there is everything. And there is a list of all our topics, but still the topic of procrastination is the beginning. The book is the key part of our lives. So I highly recommend you to go through the book and then to read more about other topics. But procrastination is still the key skill, how to be more productive. So
one more time, End Procrastination is the book. Over 400,000 have sold, right?
I think even more now. It's great to hear the numbers. Yeah.
They can purchase it Amazon and every bookstore possible, correct?
Every bookstore. If you go to procrastination.com, it's very easy. You click on the book, you will see it. It'll give you your Barnes & Noble, your Amazons, your online, your offline. You have audiobook, Kindle, you name it. We even have an online course. So if you procrastinate so much you don't want to read or listen, you can online.
And it's Adela there. Adela is in the course.
Yeah, and it's my face. I apologize, but hey, it's gonna help procrastination.
Wonderful.
Peter, I'll start with you. Is there anything that I haven't asked that I should have?
I don't think so. My key message for our listeners is the one about finding life purpose, finding the vision, and then have courage to change things in life, focus on willpower habits. So we went through all important parts of the book. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Adela?
I agree. You were well prepared. You don't know how many interviews we did with somebody about the book who did not read it whatsoever and asked us all the wrong questions. So thank you for actually putting the effort. We highly appreciate it. And I think that all was answered, and I'm going to circle back to better self, better world. Huh? Sometimes even small little things and self-betterment, just being a kinder, nicer person can be a huge step for humanity. So I'm going to end it at that for sure.
Well, that is a fantastic message. And everyone, please go check out procrastination.com. And I'm sure Peter would be more than happy to come to your small or large company to give a speech.
Thank you for having us. Thank you. It was a great interview. And guys, see you somewhere in the future. And we will visit you in Miami if there will be a chance.
Thanks for listening. Find us on YouTube and Facebook at The Intellectual People Podcast and online at theintellectualpeoplepodcast.com. Check back for exciting new episodes.